Hey guys, Matt, IronTrap Garage, and today we're going to be working on the 33 window project again. So you guys may remember we did a dash video a little while ago where I smoothed out the dash and sectioned it, did all kinds of stuff with the opening, and got it looking a little better, at least I think so. What I had planned with that was doing a dash insert in that had a variety of rear mount gauges, store water gauges of course, and I worked on making, I'll show you guys where we're at here, making a template here that I drew up, and I measured all of my gauges, so I have all this stashed away. And the video took a little while because I had to find, I was being kind of picky. I wanted a crescent needle speedometer, which came in a few different vehicles, mainly Ardun. I'm not sure what this came out of. I bought this off a gentleman off the ham, and worked out pretty good. But yeah, so this is a tack that we had kicking around that actually I think a viewer sent us, and it turns out it's Ardun, like it's actually I think like Ardun 32, 3, something like that. Ardun tachometer, and I got a bunch of other rear mount gauges here, also like Ardun style, if you will. They all have that crescent needle on them, so all the gauges are going to have that style. That's why you see the layout here. We're going to have the speedometer on our left here behind the steering wheel, tack, and then our 3 gauges there. I think I have water temp, oil pressure, and fuel. Fuel definitely needs to be redone, but I have one. They're quite rare. So those are the 3 most important ones that we're going to have in the vehicle, other than the speedo and the tack. So I also picked up a piece of engine turned thin stainless steel here. I think it's going to look pretty cool with all the holes punched in it. So I'm going to be taking this pattern here, transferring it over, and a tool that I bought, I'm going to try one of these out. I did a test cut, is a circle cutter. So I got this mounted in the mill, and uses a drill bit, and then it's almost like a lathe bit or tooling, if you will. And what it does is it drills a pilot hole, and then as it spins, you move this out however far you want, and it cuts a larger hole, obviously, the further out that is. So I tried one for the tack here and a piece of sheet metal. I'm going to set you guys down just so I can use both my hands here. There we go, and down. Okay, so I took a piece of sheet metal and some wood, punched a hole in it so that I could fixture it into the table on the mill, and you can see it cut pretty darn nice hole in that. This is, I believe, 18 gauge steel here, and this is actually the face there. Cut a pretty darn nice hole in it, and you can see this is rear mount, and I didn't file this or do anything yet. I didn't clean up the cut. Perfect fit. I got it, actually surprisingly, on the first try, got the distance just right. So what I'm going to do is leave the setting there for that one because I nailed it. and we're going to start laying this out. I'm going to cut the tack first, which is actually the second one, just because I already got the measurement set up on it. And then what I'm going to do is each time adjust the cutter, and I'm going to cut a piece of sheet metal and test fit my gauge just to make sure that my distance is just right so that we get a nice cut in there and I don't have to file and sand like the old way that I used to do it, which took an incredible amount of time. So I have to take my time, very slow. I'm going to leave the plastic on here. I think that will help in me handling it, that I don't scratch the crap out of it. And yeah, we're hopefully by the end of this we're going to have a gauge panel with all the holes punched in it, and we'll get it mounted in the dash, and it'll look awesome. So that's the goal. So I'm going to get everything set up and we'll start doing our cuts. Well, that didn't work worth a shit, and I just pretty much wrecked a $100 piece of turned stainless steel. So that was pretty great. Nice expensive lesson there. I should have known that the stainless was gonna dull the bit and walk around, and I also kind of know that stainless likes to move around a lot when it gets hot. So when you're cutting this thing, it was starting to get hot and it was bulging up and just went downhill very, very quickly. So yeah, so I'm gonna have to review this, go back on this video in a couple days or a week when I get a new bit, number one, because it cut the steel just fine. So I think I'm gonna do this out of aluminum, and that would probably work a lot better. I don't know why I opted for the stainless. I was just thinking it would work better. I don't really know what I was thinking with the stainless, to be honest. I guess I decided I wanted to waste a lot of money. So this panel is, at least for this project, and my bit fell out. It just went all downhill really, really quickly. Yeah, it's like almost cut through, but it dulled the bit and just created a huge problem. And yeah, so that's pretty much junk. So I guess I could maybe cut it off and use it for another panel, but for what we're trying to do here, it definitely is not going to work. Great. Alright, so last couple shots I was welding the studs in to hold my gauges in place, and we got all that going. So finally the gauges are all mounted in this panel. It is kind of rough cut the size, it's a little bigger than we need, but I wanted that extra material depending on what we were doing. So what I'm trying to do, because I think we've had a little jump here between me messing up the last one and making this one, but basically I decided to go this route because I knew when I started welding the studs, stuff was going to start moving and it was going to get a little funny, which it did a little bit already. But what I'm going to try to do is cover it with some sort of covering. I don't know yet what we're going to do, but what I need to do is get this thing so that it will bolt in, hold the gauges, and then we can figure out how to kind of finish out with the outside finish. But I love this set of gauges. They are kick-ass. This one is out of some kind of GM. It doesn't have a chrome bezel on it currently. I got to find a donor gauge to do that, but we got it all mounted in place. There's a little bit of extra room around that hole opening that I left so that we can put a piece of chrome trim over it and it will fit perfectly. Everything's looking good. So I'm going to pull the dash out of the 3-window. I have it, it's all bolted in place, and I got this windshield frame that we had found, mentioned in another video that was in my stash. It's just sitting in there. So I got to get the dash unbolted, and then I can get it on the bench and work on actually fitting it up. But I'm going to try and make some little tabs off of the mount, or off the panel, to mount it to the dash. But yeah, that's the next step. So I'm going to get this thing unbolted and get it on the bench. You. Well, that was a nice lesson. right, so got the gauge panel mounted back up into the dash, and the dash mounted back into the car. And of course, I cleaned up all the welds and just hit it with the DA and roughed stuff up a little bit. But now it's at least bolted in the car. This thing really fought me. I had a whoopsie there with the speedometer that I used a bunch of creative language afterwards. But I will have to, that speedo I wasn't 100% happy with because it didn't have the chrome trim. So I have to find a piece of chrome trim and a piece of glass now. Great. And now that I got everything in, I'm glad I hesitated on putting some sort of covering on that panel. I think putting some kind of pearl or whatever I was thinking about doing before, some sort of design, is too much. So I think what I'm going to end up doing currently, I'm going to stare at it for a while as we usually do. I think I'm just going to put some kind of like textured black coating over it. Eastwood and a bunch of different companies sell textured coatings. Not as textured as like a bed liner, but maybe something in between, like a trunk splatter paint and just a fine textured paint. So something like that on the insert itself will just break it up a little bit, be subdued, and the gauges themselves obviously are the centerpiece of the dash there. And then I can add switches and things down in the bottom, or maybe hide them in between. But for now, this is good. It's another step forward. We have another piece of the puzzle kind of in place, and we can finesse everything as we get a little closer to getting the car actually done. But for now, we're just trying to get these big things figured out on the car, because this is another one that was totally so far apart and crude that we're trying to make the best we can out of what was there. And this 40 dash has been one of my favorite things in this car since I found it, the way they put that in there. And I just, obviously restyled it a little bit, and I think it is a nice addition. So that's it for this one. I appreciate you guys following along. Let me know what you think of the gauge setup in the 33.3 window. Thanks, guys. Catch you later.